everybody, welcome to Cooking Together. I'm Chef Nicole, and today I'm going to be sharing a really fun recipe with you, spaghetti squash and a tomato basil sauce. I'm going to review with you the ingredients that we're going to be making in our sauce, and then I'll show you how to safely cut the spaghetti squash, the seasonings we're going to put on it, and how to bake it in the oven. Let's go through the ingredients. Obviously our spaghetti squash. We have here some grape tomatoes, which we're going to be using to make our sauce. Feel free to do a mix of grape tomatoes. If you have Roma on hand, that's okay. Canned tomatoes, if that's what's in your cupboard, that's all right. We've got carrots, which I'm going to show you how to cut these. We are doing a couple of cloves of garlic, celery, and then we have basil. So I'm going to show you how to slice our spaghetti squash so I can get it into the oven. It does take about 30 minutes to cook. While it's in the oven, we'll make our sauce. So let's get started. Let's preheat the oven to 375 degrees to cook the squash. Spaghetti squash is a really firm vegetable, and one of the things I like to let people know is we don't want to try to cut through the stem end, okay? It's going to be really hard to get through that. So we're going to choose to cut through one side or the other. What I like to do is start in the middle. Don't try to cut up here, because what you'll notice is our rocker knife is sharpest from here to here. If I do this, the sharp part of my knife isn't even actually touching the vegetable. We want to hold the bolster of the knife and wrap our fingers around it. Okay, and then use our claw. Tuck your fingers in, put your thumb behind to make sure that your thumb is not in the way of where the knife is going. So we're gonna actually put the tip of the knife into our squash, and you're gonna hold it down. You wanna get a nice firm hold on it. Use some leverage, and we're gonna work our way around. If it doesn't wanna go all the way through, let's not try to force it, okay? Safety first, always in the kitchen. Let's just turn it over and start from the other direction, and it's gonna make it much easier to go through because it's already cut. You're going to go to the side of the stem, okay, and then you're going to cut it in half. What you're going to do is you're going to scrape out and remove all of the seeds, and then we're going to season it. I have one here that I've already prepared. I've scraped out the seeds, so now I'm just going to put a little bit of olive oil and some Italian seasoning on it before I put it in the oven to bake. You can use a spoon or a spatula or like a pastry knife or anything like that if you want to spread out your oil. I'm always washing my hands in the kitchen, so I'm just going to give my squash a little massage. I'm use a little bit of Italian seasoning and a little salt and pepper. We're seasoning from up high. The reason is because it gives it a more even distribution. So you don't want to season from really close. If you do, you're going to notice that it's all going to land in one spot. So you do want to go up high so that it spreads evenly. And now that is all that you need to do before you get it into the oven. We're going to put it on our baking sheet. You want to put it cut side down. That's going to help it to steam, and it's going to help speed up the cooking process a little bit. We're going to put this into a 375 degree oven, and we're going to set a timer for about 30 minutes. So now, while that's working, we are going to put a little bit of olive oil into our pot to get our sauce going. Next up, garlic. So a nice easy way to get our skins off is to use the flat side of our knife, use the heel of your hand, and give it a good smack. And then your peel is going to come right off. If there's any spots on it that you don't want to use, like I'm noticing on this one here, we're just going to trim it off and use the rest. And there you have it. And you can just trim off that little stem end. Like I said, here we have a spot that's not good enough to use, so we're just going to cut it off. Okay, so we're using some garlic cloves. This is where, again, even on my smaller items, I'm able to use that claw and just use my rocker knife going back and forth. Okay. One of the things that I like to share with people is you often see in recipes, it'll tell you to add your onion and garlic at the same time. There's no onion in this recipe, but we do have our celery and carrots. We are not going to be adding those at the same time as our garlic. If we do, our garlic is going to burn. They're nowhere near the same size. And once garlic burns, it's going to get bitter and nobody is going to want to eat that. So do add your other vegetables first, give them a little bit of a chance to soften, and then add your garlic in after. So to work with our carrots, I'm going to cut off a small piece on the side. As you notice, round vegetables are tricky to cut. We don't want stuff trying to run away from us when we're cutting it. We want to have good knife safety in the kitchen. So by cutting it so it has a flat side, it's much easier to work with. I'm not really concerned about all of my vegetables being exactly the same size. We want uniform sizes to make sure things cook at the same time. But because I'm going to be pureeing this dish at the end, I'm not worried about it being exact. My oil is preheating in my pan. I've got that over medium heat, and then I'm going to start sauteing the vegetables. So we've got our carrots, and then I'm going to add my celery, and then after that starts to sweat a little bit. Sweating a vegetable, you're just removing the moisture out of it rather than actually adding any color to it. Sauteing means that you're cooking over high heat and you are adding color to whatever it is that you're cooking. So I'm just cutting my celery in half lengthwise, just makes it a little easier to manage and brings it down to those uniform sizes that I'm looking for. So this is the time that we're going to add in some of our dry seasonings. So I have here the Italian seasoning and onion powder. So we can go ahead and add those in. Give it a stir. And then we have our tomatoes. It smells so good. I can't wait till your kitchen is just filled with all of the delicious smells that are happening here right now. All right, so we are just gonna cover this with a lid and just let that simmer down. So one thing that's really important is I added my grape tomatoes in whole. So this recipe, we are gonna cook it down completely. We're gonna puree it. But if you are using grape tomatoes in any recipe, make sure that you cut them in half or you mash them or you do something to them because the inside of that tomato is gonna get really, really hot and you don't wanna bite into that, okay? Let's have a peek at our squash and see how we're doing. All right, here we have it. You can see here, there's a little bit of an indent that I can press. That tells you that our spaghetti squash is ready to be made into spaghetti and have strands. I'm gonna let this cool for just a minute or two before I try to get all of my spaghetti strands. This point, I am thinking I wanna add some water to this just to help get these tomatoes really cooking. And that's just gonna help to speed up this process for us. In the meantime, we chiffonade our basil. You're just gonna stack all your basil on top of each other. We're gonna roll it up and you're gonna take your knife and you're just gonna run through it. Again, we're not gonna add this till the very end of our cooking time. It is time that we're gonna add our garlic in. And now for our water. You could also add more flavor by using stock, anything you would like. Give that a nice stir, put the lid on, and let that just cook away. And all you're gonna do for your spaghetti squash is you're gonna take a fork and you are gonna run your fork along the inside of your squash. And you can see how it pulls from the edge and it makes strands just like our spaghetti noodles. So we're just going to put these into a bowl. Because my sauce isn't quite ready yet, you could just pop this back into an oven that's warm and then they can just hang out in there while you're waiting for your sauce to finish cooking. I'm gonna pop this in the oven and then in a couple minutes, we're gonna puree the sauce and I'll show you how to put it all together. I just pulled my spaghetti squash out of the oven. My sauce is looking fantastic. My tomatoes have cooked down beautifully. My vegetables are nice and tender. So the next step for this is we're gonna turn off the heat and I am going to puree it right in the pot. One of my favorite kitchen gadgets is the immersion blender. This is simple, easy, and very safe to use. It also keeps everything in one pot where we're not dealing with hot liquid and transferring that into a blender or to some other container. So we're gonna take the lid off here. So I'm just gonna take a minute and blitz this up. The key with your immersion blender is you always wanna just like press straight down, do it in small batches to start so that it doesn't go everywhere. And then, depending on if your handles are hot, you might need a towel or an oven mitt, and you're gonna just tip your pan and you're just gonna puree your sauce to the consistency that you like. Before I serve this up, you always want to taste your seasonings. Make sure, do I need a little bit more salt? Does it need an adjustment? And so we want to do that. That tastes great. Those grape tomatoes have cooked down really nice. The texture is perfect. It's exactly where I want it to be. And now I just get to dress my spaghetti squash noodles. I like it saucy. So I'm just giving this a good stir. Here we go. And we're going to finish this with our chiffonade basil. And optionally, you could also choose to add some Parmesan cheese or something else on top. There you have it, everybody. A delicious spaghetti squash with a tomato basil sauce. This is a great recipe for chefs of all ages. Grab a friend, grab a family member, and make this recipe together. You won't be disappointed.